Hello everyone, this is part 9 of What If Naruto Leaves Konoha and Joins Akatsuki, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist. To see more, comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Naruto, along with his I or D subordinates, teleported right back into the Otokage's office. Naruto quickly called a few more people to take care of the D and to take the I to the hospital. I'll need to arrange the funeral, thought Naruto sadly. He called in his secretary and told her to make arrangements for the funeral to take place 3 days from now. After all, I have wait for Mia to get back, can't go burying one of her friends without her. Naruto sat down at his desk, with his hands on forehead and sighed heavily. "Goddamn," he muttered. Naruto looked over at the paperwork on his desk, frowned and turned in his chair to gaze out the window. "I really don't want war to come to this place," he said softly. He sat like that looking out the window for an unknown amount of time, until an Anbu disturbed him with some business. At this point, Naruto sighed and got back to his duties and the Otokage. 3 days later at the funeral, all of the shinobi that didn't have missions or guard duty came to Kisame and Hirotaro's funeral, even some civilians showed up. Though most people were there for Kisame because he was a prominent figure within the shinobi ranks. Mia stood next to Naruto after they had both said Kisame's eulogy, and try as they might they were unable to hide their sadness. White roses were soon thrown on top of the coffin by all present and the coffin was then buried. I hope I got that at least half right, since I've never been to a funeral. Naruto ed down next to his friend's grave. "I'm sorry old friend, that you had to die." He lowered his head. Mia then continued for Naruto, "But, you did always say that it would be a great honor for you to die on the battlefield, while fighting alongside a good friend." She looked over at Naruto who simply sighed and nodded in agreement. "I hope you've found peace," he said and stood up. "I'm going back to the office." He addressed Mia and left without giving her a chance to reply. Mia stood there in a slight confusion, then kneeled down next to Kisame's grave and whispered, "Don't worry, I'll take care of him." She tilted her head and looked in the direction of Naruto's house, that is, after I get some answers from him. She clenched her fist. "Be at peace my friend." She gently placed his S-mist forehead protector on the tombstone and vanished. Naruto did go to his office, but could concentrate on anything and finally decided to go home, not wanting to be at the office after that entire ordeal. He was still pissed off about Kisame's death at the hands of someone that he was going to trust. The Otokage's house was a grand 2-story apartment that had a giant living room with a fireplace, a dining room for at least 30 people, a big kitchen, a bathroom, and even a small library on the first floor. On the second floor there was a master bedroom and 3 guest rooms, and 3 more bathrooms. As soon as he came in, Naruto found Mia sitting on the couch in the living room, with a serious look on her face. Naruto wasn't too surprised to find her there, since she could get into just about any place, guarded or unguarded. Mia stood up and walked over to him. She stopped right in front of him and looked him in the eyes. "What the hell happened out there?" she demanded. "Look, when I heard about Kisame, I was pissed off too, but did you really expect anything better?" she asked. "Maybe," he said in a slightly calmer tone, "maybe I expected some impossible act of forgiveness. I sure as hell paid for it. I told you not to go back there. Nothing good can come from visiting your home village. I would know," she added sadly. Naruto suddenly turned to face her. What do you mean, you know?" "I went back, after the Akatsuki fell apart, maybe hoping to make up with my old friends," explained Mia in a slightly bitter tone. "They blamed me for everything bad that had happened to the village since my departure, but most of all they only saw me as a loose end from the operation to bring down the Akatsuki." "The sea of all the threads," mumbled Naruto and Mia nodded. "But why didn't you tell me this before I went?" His voice was becoming frustrated again. "I would have given it more thought or at least not rushed in there like I did." Before Naruto could react, once she reached his shoulder she withdrew and her eyes almost instantly lost that coldness. "I care about Kisame's death, more than I would ever show," she said softly. "You know, you had about the same training. Hiding and or masking our emotions is basically instinctive. I know, sighed Naruto. I'm sorry, he added very softly. He looked down at his arm and quickly generated some chakra to heal it all up. Mia was stunned, she had never heard him use that kind of tone with anyone. On a second take, she realized that the message was genuine. He's never apologized and really meant it, maybe only to Itachi-san. He's always been the best of us to conceal emotions, lifetime's practice, he said. However, Mia could not figure out what he would be apologizing for. He wouldn't be sorry for interrogating her, could it not be meant for me? She wondered. A long silence passed in the room. It was my fault, he finally said. Mia wondered. What could have been his fault? The fact that the Leaf Village rejected him. Or could he be talking about Kisame? I must have been too forceful, he continued in a subdued voice. I figured I couldn't go into the meeting in obvious regret. I thought it would make it look like I was begging. Good thinking, if you had done that then they would have surely walked all over you, she thought, but stayed silent. I certainly didn't want that. If they were going to accept me then they were going to accept me for myself, not for another mask that I would put up to gain their trust, he explained. You of all people should realize that I didn't really go there for the scroll. It was a nifty excuse to tell myself and anyone that doubted my motives. I would have definitely offered them peace and some sort of comeuppance, but before all that I had to feel them out, and this is where I messed up. He turned around so that his back was to her, so that she could not see the emotions running across his face. Several things that should not have been said, were, and it went downhill from there. He tightened his fist. I should have seen it, noticed the little, subtle things that went on in the meeting. I was so absolutely convinced that soon it would still like me, that it rendered me blind. Mia could see that this was tearing him apart. He had honestly counted on at least neutrality between the villages. She reached out an arm towards him, but hesitated. Do they know about you being the Otokage, that is? Yes, I told the Hokage right before we left, he answered. Shock and maybe even fear, intermixed with her previous coldness. Serves her right, underestimating Naruto like that be, thought Mia, though also wondered why she was suddenly being so forceful. Maybe I should still extend my hand, this time as the Otokage, wondered Naruto. What? Don't tell me that you are actually considering doing that after everything they did to you, Mia replied vehemently. It was my fault, so I should make amends, he said in a half-broken voice. It's not your fault, they made the decision by themselves, she countered. They surely know that no one comes to the negotiations table, without at least some pride and maybe even a card up their sleeve. Still they deserved better. Mia see him off, persistence is futile. Those people will never change. She yelled. They are not all like that. How many? She asked compellingly, how many do you still consider your friends and vice versa? 5. Less. Naruto answered. 1. Perhaps. 1. Her mind screamed. I wasn't expecting anything that bad, my God. I don't know if even he would forgive me for everything I've done. Do you really intend to do all this for just one person, that might not even like you anymore? She asked him in a soft tone. But he was there for me, Naruto trailed off. If he had been there for you, we wouldn't be talking right now, and you wouldn't have joined the Akatsuki after running away, she concluded. Well, I don't know, he's just, if Tsunade turned on me then surely he's not too far behind, after all the QB did kill his entire family. Naruto, she said as she s her arm around his waist from behind and held him close to her. There are people right here that care about you, maybe you should also see all the threads. Naruto sighed deeply and relaxed a little in her embrace. I know, he sighed again. He paused to think a little. See all the threads you say. Well, you said it before me, she answered softly. Yes, I think I will do exactly that, replied Naruto. If this person can forgive me then, he will also have to side with me, but I will not hold out my hand. Mia. Thank you and I'm sorry again, he said. Mia was confused once more. That, sorry, was meant for me, but why? Naruto turned around to face her and put his hands on her shoulders, but couldn't make his eyes meet hers. I know about your feelings, he said after a slight pause. Mia was startled. What? My feelings, but, she decided to feign ignorance. What feelings are you talking about exactly? Naruto chuckled a little. No games, Mia, Itachi told me being in absolute ignorance about things like that. I never noticed, he calmly said, amused to find her so shocked. So you've known all this time, huh? But then that would mean that you don't reciprocate, right? She looked away, not wanting to see his face when he said it. Back then, things were different. We were both in the Akatsuki and any kind of relationship seemed just a bit impossible, he began to explain. Then there was the whole Leaf mission incident and Itachi's death and I just had to leave, she nodded. After that, revenge was just about the only thing on my mind. I did go to the grass country right after I had found out that the Akatsuki was gone, I guess subconsciously hoping that I would find you. Then I helped out in the sand. Orochimaru took control of this village and sent some people to find you and kiss him, and you know the story from there, he concluded. Mia nodded at the last part, but was still unsure how that answered her question, so. She asked, not really sure what to ask. Naruto smirked. So much for your own training of being able to read emotions, he said in a joking tone. Hey, it's hard enough to make coherent sense out of what you say, she snapped. Exactly what do you mean by that? He questioned. I make perfect sense. Really now? Then how come even I can't understand? You're doing it on purpose, of course, he half yelled, to piss me off. Hey, you're not as clueless as I thought, he laughed. Very funny, said Naruto in an annoyed tone. Oh come on, you're too uptight, of course I know what you mean. So then, why? He asked, confused. Idiot, I wanted a straight answer, she answered. Oh, well in that case, I like you too, Mia, confessed Naruto with a slight blush on his face. Mia mirrored Naruto's blush and quickly hugged him, part of the reason being so that he wouldn't see the emotions in her eyes. I'm actually saddened that you weren't able to resolve things with the leaf, said Mia. Yay, so am I. After all that, did you at least get the scroll? She asked kindly. Naruto broke the hug and walked over the mantelpiece and drew his finger over the surface. A secret compartment rose up from the mantelpiece and Naruto took out the scroll from it. Have you read it yet? She asked. Naruto nodded, but it wasn't what I was expecting. How so? Mia asked with a little concern. Well, of course it had an apology and an explanation for why he sealed the QB within me, Naruto explained in a soft tone. But there was also an alternate reason for the whole thing, he paused. Well, it just gives me a new cause, Naruto concluded. So, what are you going to do now? The rest of the day, I'm going to spend in remembrance of a fallen comrade and old friend, he stated sadly. Mia nodded in agreement and they stayed at his house for the rest of the day and night, talking about the past times. Mia stayed the night at the Otokage's house, in a guest bedroom just as she had done several other times. Naruto woke up late the next morning with a feeling that he was forgetting to do something. He got up and walked into the kitchen to find Mia had already prepared breakfast. Morning, she greeted. Morning, answered Naruto in a slightly worried tone. What is it? I feel like I've forgotten something important. Mia thought for a moment. Does it relate to the meeting? I think so, he trailed off as he realized what it was. Oh. Mia tilted her head to the side. Oh. Judging by your tone, you don't really want to deal with it or you don't really know how to deal with it. It concerns the prisoners that I was going to give back to the leaf, Naruto said. Well, I doubt that you're going to just let them loose now. Of course not, but at the meeting I told the Hokage that I would send her Konohamaru in a box, he explained. And you're thinking if that is really the best course of action, am I right? She asked, already knowing the answer. He nodded. If I remember correctly, he's the previous Hokage's grandson, so you might get a handsome random for him, she offered. Yes, but, he's a liability, right? Exactly, replied Naruto. Then, carry him along with the female and have them both delivered to the Leaf Village, she simply replied. Maybe even have one of our spies put his DB in a highly visible place. You're quite sadistic when it comes to that kind of stuff, you know. No worse than you, she replied with a sadistic grin. Suddenly an idea hit Naruto and he showed a malicious grin. I'll use one of them as the delivery girl. Mia raised an eyebrow and smirked. You don't bluff on your threats. Nope. After breakfast, Naruto made his way to the dungeon and asked the guards to prepare a box for the male prisoner's body, and to also release the girl and bring over to Konohamaru's cell. He then made his way over to Konohamaru. Naruto looked into Konohamaru's cell and saw him sitting down in the corner with one of his hands chained to the wall. Hey, he called from the outside. Konohamaru instantly recognized that voice and didn't even bother looking up. What the hell do you want? He asked with bitterness. Well, I thought I'd tell you that your village decided that you aren't worth anything, so they will not be paying your ransom, he said with a slight amusement. I don't care, I would die for my village, he declared, looking up the otokage with determined eyes. Naruto laughed at this, until he noticed the anger in Konohamaru's eyes. Oh, don't worry, I'm not laughing at you. In fact, I think that that's very honorable that you think like that, said Naruto in an amused tone. Very few ninjas like you in the leaf, and they throw them away just like that, stupid, if you ask me. Naruto looked over to see Mogi being dragged over to Konohamaru's cell. Finally the guards managed to get her right over to Naruto and chained her to the door of the opposite cell. Why do you struggle so much? Don't you want to see your lifelong friend? Asked Naruto emotionlessly. Mogi spat in his face. No. I don't want to see him get beaten up in front of me, she yelled. Naruto looked over at the guards in question. Really now? It's a form of interrogation, Otokage-sama, I'm sorry if. One of the guards started to apologize, but Naruto see him off. No, it is no big deal. Nothing to be sorry for, he turned back to Mogi and wiped the spit off his face. Though, now I'll have to make this even more interesting, he said sadistically and flashed his red eyes fro Mogi. Make sure she watches, he ordered the guards. Then in softer tone whispered to them, though you don't have to, the guards nodded in understanding. Naruto opened the cell door and stepped in. Now then Konohamaru-kun, let's start. Do your worst, he stated confidently. Oh, you don't want my worst, said Naruto, plus then it would be over too quickly. Naruto opened up his robe to reveal dozens of needles, hooks, scalpels and what looked like dull, rusty knives. Naruto noticed Konohamaru's determination waver a little bit and smirked a little. Naruto took one of the needles, grabbed Konohamaru's free hand, pushed the palm up against the wall, and stuck the needle straight through the nail of the thumb, pinning Konohamaru to the wall. He then repeated the process with his other hand. Both times Konohamaru gritted his teeth to keep from crying out in pain. Naruto smirked at his determination and decided to hit a few more pressure points all over his arms. Konohamaru was still able to resist the pain, which made him worthy in Naruto's eyes. Naruto then decided to switch over to the hooks. He made sure that there were other hooks in the wall slightly above the leaf nin, and he slowly removed the needles that pinned Konohamaru to the wall. Since Konohamaru wasn't fed well, most of his muscles had atrophied and so he wasn't really able to resist what Naruto was doing to him. The otokage turned him around and put several hooks through his back and hung him up on the wall. Naruto then proceeded to see several muscles in Konohamaru's legs with a scalpel and then switched his attention to the leaf nin's torso. Naruto took out his dull and rusty blades and see a star-shaped design into Konohamaru's chest, making sure to do it slow enough so that he would feel the maximum amount of pain. I could write more, but then it would have to be rated R. The tortures continued like that for another hour or two. Somewhere in the middle Konohamaru finally cracked and at first started whimpering, then broke down fully crying out in pain. At the same time Mogi was also crying and begging for Naruto to stop. When Naruto finally did stop, Konohamaru was completely covered in B from head to toe and he was barely breathing. For the finale, Naruto had activated his demonic eyes and used hell on Konohamaru. Why do you have to be so cruel to him? Mogi sobbed. She had long ago tried to look away, but the guards made sure that she watched everything. He's going to die like that, please leave him alone, she desperately begged the otokage. Then as she saw Naruto step away from Konohamaru and walk out of the cell, leaving her closest friend to be to death, she yelled out, won't you at least get a doctor for him? Naruto turned back to her and brought his demonic eyes to look directly into hers. You have too many requests, little girl. Mogi whimpered. If you hadn't spit in my face I would have made his death quick, but no, you had to prolong it, he stated coldly. But don't worry, you will get your true wish and go home, he told her. You'll just have the small duty of delivering Konohamaru to the leaf, do you accept? She quickly nodded, mostly out of fear, and continued crying. Good, said Naruto and threw a kunai straight into Konohamaru's heart, K him instantly. No, yelled Mogi. What the hell did you do that for? Since you so nicely accepted my offer, I ended his suffering, coldly answered Naruto. No, Konohamaru-kun, no, Mogi cried even more. Put the body in the box and get the girl at some semi-decent clothes and escort her to the borders of the Sound Country, he ordered the guards. Then added, and don't worry about cleaning the body up. The Otokage left the dungeon and made his way to his office to get back to his work. By the end of the day, he received a report that Mogi has been escorted to the border and left to get back to the leaf by any means she can. Naruto was sure that with the current tension, the border would be closely watched and that Mogi would be escorted to the leaf by some Anbu. Later that night, Naruto met up with Mia and they went to get a bite to eat. Even though Naruto was with the girl he likes, his face only showed gloominess. What's wrong, Naruto-kun? Asked Mia with concern. Naruto stayed silent for a moment. I lost control today. With the leaf nin. Remember how I told you that I was going to make it quick for him? He asked. Mia nodded. For old time's sake, you said. Well, when Mogi spit in my face, she reminded me so much of Tsunade, that I just lost it, he said slowly. I just kept seeing Kisam's death face and that little mocking look that the Hokage gave me when she went back on the deal. I see, she said in serious voice. I understand what happened. The rest of the dinner passed in silence. Afterwards they walked to the Otokage's place and just as Naruto shut the door behind them he asked Mia a question. Do you think I'm just like Orochimaru? Mia quickly turned around to face him in confusion. What? How could you even ask that? It's just that, I betrayed my home village, several shinobi from there and now I have my own village with which I'm going to wage war against my home village, he explained. Mia frowned. No, there is no way I'm going to let him compare himself with that snake, she decided. Naruto, you are definitely not like that snake. He ran away for a much more selfish reason than you and you killed those shinobi out of survival reasons, she tried to reason with him. Plus, you are waging war for a much better reason than that snake could have ever come up with. I guess, sighed Naruto. But why do I always get seen as the evil one? Only by your enemies, Naruto, she reassured. Your enemies will always see you as an evil being. Naruto sniffled a little. I know what I have to do and I have a good reason why I should do it, but, he paused for a few seconds, but why did two of my closest friends have to die for me to get here, and how many more of my friends will have to die before this is finally over? Mia gently embraced him and for the first time in more than 12 years Naruto openly cried on Mia's shoulder. Mia held him tight and whispered comforting words into his ear. After a few minutes he stopped and looked up into her eyes. Thank you. You're welcome, she gently replied. Do you feel better now that you've released all the pain and suffering you've been keeping inside? Definitely, he smiled at her, and she smiled back. Thanks for being here, Mia. Several days later in the Leaf Village. Hokage-sama, our scouts are coming back earlier than expected, reported a guard. Reason for their return? Asked Tsunade expecting it to be a confrontation with Sound Nin. They said that they are bringing someone back. Tsunade's heart skipped a beat. Bring them to me as soon as they get back, she ordered. She thought back to Naruto's parting words. Was I wrong to assume that to be an empty anger-induced threat? She wondered. Within the hour 3 people entered the Hokage's office, 2 of them carrying a box and the third carrying a girl in his arms. Tsunade instantly recognized the girl as Mogi. Where did you find her? She half yelled. Just on the border to the Sound Country, answered the Anbu. We observed her and that coffin, getting dumped onto our side of the border and left there. And that would then be Konohamaru, said Tsunade sadly pointing to the coffin. Yes, Hokage-sama, answered the same Anbu. We opened it up to make sure it wasn't a bomb. The Hokage nodded and noticed that Mogi was stirring. Take the coffin to the morgue and please inform his friends. Leave Mogi here, I'll need to talk to her. They bowed and disappeared out of the office with the coffin. Tsunade walked over to Mogi to make sure she wasn't too badly hurt. Except for a couple of bruises and a couple of small the girl was absolutely fine. Mogi, are you alright? Asked Tsunade in a concerned tone. The girl half opened her eyes and smiled a little when she saw Tsunade. Hokage-sama, she then mumbled something about home and then started crying again. Yes, you're home. No need to worry anymore, reassured the Hokage. Konohamaru-kun, he's Mogi sobbed. Tsunade's face twisted in an angry frown at this, he, must be Naruto, and he was obviously using this poor girl as the messenger, that twisted bastard. Mogi, don't worry, he can't hurt you anymore. No, he didn't do anything to me, I just watched as she couldn't finish her sentence. However, she didn't need as Tsunade had already put the pieces together. Mogi, I'll have someone escort you to the hospital. Just rest now, we'll get that bastard, said Tsunade bitterly. Just then Udon burst into the office and instantly made his way to Mogi and hugged her, happy that she was alive. Udon, please escort Mogi to the hospital, she's had a very long day. Udon nodded and scooped Mogi up in his arms and disappeared in a cloud of smoke. The Hokage sat down hard in her chair. I guess war is inevitable, she mumbled. She knew all too well that the village was not ready for war at the moment, so she would have to start preparing her forces and strengthening alliances. She wondered whom the Sand would ally with in the event of a war. Through Jiraiya's espionage, Tsunade knew that Naruto had in fact helped Temari gain power and also that the Sand knew a long time ago who the Otokage was, and hence had made that trade agreement with the Sound because of Naruto. I see two options, either the Sand siding with the Sound, which would prove very bad for the Leaf, or the Sand simply staying neutral, which would a bit more beneficial for the Leaf, the Hokage mused. And we were just weakened with the D of Jiraiya, she mumbled, remembering the funeral several days back. The Hyuga head, Hinata, was also Kei, and Sasuke and Sakura are both in the hospital with medium to heavy eye, respectively. Well, if I learned one thing from that meeting, it's that Sound Shinobi cannot be taken lightly, said Tsunade. And then there's the Otokage, Naruto, being able to K2 Sannin, is a feat that is quite incredible in itself. I wonder if I would be able to stand up to him if the Sound decided to attack first. After a bit of contemplating, Tsunade called in her special Junin and the best strategist, Shikamaru, and briefed them on the situation. Shikamaru instantly suggested building up the Leaf's defenses, before focusing on the offensive. His reason being that if the Otokage felt superior to the Hokage, then there was high chance that he would decide to strike first. The next 2 years were spent just building up defenses, before at last focusing on the offensive. The Leaf had a pretty difficult time forming military alliances, since the Sound had made it known that there was increasing tension that could very easily lead to war. So other hidden villages knew that an alliance with the Leaf would ultimately lead to a war with the Sound. The smaller villages especially didn't want this, mostly because they had profitable trade agreements with the Sound. About halfway through the 4th year, Konoha did manage to sign an alliance with the Mist Village. On the other hand, the Sound had no problem signing military alliances. The Hidden Cloud was especially happy to be in an alliance that may give them the chance to get even with Konoha. Naruto had thought that the Stone would accept an alliance, but just as he was making the offer, a war had broken out between the Stone and Snow. The Stone knew exactly what the Sound was making alliances for and politely declined the alliance, saying that they didn't want to fight a war on 2 fronts. That's what happened officially. However, unofficially, the Otokage had set up a treaty with the Stone, making it possible for Sound Shinobi to participate in the war with the Snow disguised as Stone Nin. Main reason for this being practice, though Naruto didn't want to lose too many people in this endeavor, and because of that only high-ranked shinobi were allowed to go. By the time that Konoha had allied with the Mist, Oto had allied with the Cloud and Rain. Naruto had respected Temari's decision to stay out of the war, however he did get her to agree to create a distraction if need be. That's what the plan was for the Rain Shinobi, to create a distraction so that troops may be snuck into the Leaf Village's proximity. The Otokage had increased the training of the younger generation, taking them out of the academy a year earlier and making sure that they were assigned to a Junin instructor specifically based on their affinities. The Sound was developing shinobi that were trained to the limit of their abilities in the area that they were best in, whether it be Tai, Gen or Ninjutsu. Konoha, Tsunade's office. Shikamaru, what makes you think that an attack will come soon? Asked Tsunade. Shikamaru groaned. The Sound has had enough time to prepare, and certainly they know that several of our special Junin are out on an S-class mission. It's the most opportune time, he explained. There was about the same situation 2 years ago, and nothing happened, said Sasuke. We should increase our defenses regardless, countered Shikamaru. Suddenly an Anbu rushed in. Hokage-sama, Rain Shinobi are attacking in the northwest. The attack is beginning, said Shikamaru. Tsunade jumped out of her chair. We need to send our shinobi out there. Shikamaru interrupted her. If the Rain are attacking from the northwest, then the Sound and Cloud will attack from their borders. Tsunade quickly considered his point. True, we need to send troops out towards the Sound border and the northeast border. Get it done. She commanded the Anbu. He bowed and disappeared. Shikamaru, what are our defenses like here? Asked Tsunade. Tower and gate guards mostly, he replied. Dozens of shinobi, of all ranks, wandering around in the village. We should send out some of the best Anbu towards the borders to stop the initial attacks and show them they won't even be able to enter the fire country, offered Sasuke. No, declared Shikamaru. Why not? The Uchiha raised his voice. Consider Naruto's personality, his style is to hit as close to heart as possible, explained Shikamaru somewhat sadly. The rain and sound borders are too far away for a proper effect. Then, what the hell do you think he's going to do? A direct attack on the village? Asked Sasuke incredulously. Shikamaru shrugged. Alright, I want to split it, ordered the Hokage. I want half of the best Anbu teams out there on the border and half to stay in defense of Konoha. The decision was reasonable, even though Shikamaru couldn't shake the bad feeling that the decisions they were making now were life-deciding, but he knew better than to oppose the Hokage's orders. About half an hour later, Shikamaru and Sasuke both came back to inform the Hokage that the Anbu teams and several Junin were sent off to the rain and sound borders. I still say that we should have sent the more powerful and experienced shinobi, said Sasuke. Shikamaru sighed in annoyance and mumbled troublesome. I keep telling you that the main attack cannot come so far from his real objective, he explained for what seemed like the 100th time today. Suddenly the three-leaf nin felt a chill run up their spine and their skin crawl. You feel that? Asked Sasuke. What the hell was that? Asked Shikamaru. Tsunade on the other hand, had a horrified look on her face. Sasuke was just about to ask her if she knew what it was, when an explosion was heard and the ground shook. The group looked out the window and saw black smoke coming from the main gate. Right after they heard a loud roar and saw something red swaying behind the smoke. Oh God, said Tsunade with her hand over her mouth. Wah! Sasuke wasn't able to finish. A wind blew and cleared the smoke temporarily, making the thing behind the smoke completely visible. A giant deep red fox with 8 tails was towering over the destroyed main gate. Its very light blue almost white eyes were fixed on the Hokage tower, as if saying, come out and fight me. A solitary figure hid in a tree a quarter of a mile outside of the Leaf Village, and watched calmly from behind his masking jutsu as a significant amount of Anbu, Junin and Chunin left the village making their way north. Perfect, he whispered. He jumped down onto the main road and calmly started walking towards Konoha. Halfway to the gate he was stopped by 2 Anbu guards. Who goes there? One of them yelled out. Both kept the distance from the blonde-haired man who wore pants with a shuriken holder on each leg, a jacket with very loose sleeves, a face mask, and a half-cape half-robe that hung down to the man's knees, and a katana strapped to his back. All of his apparel was absolutely black. The man kept his head down so that the guards could not see his face. Another thing the guards didn't notice was the symbol of sound, in red on the back of the cape. In response to the question the man lifted up his head and smirked when the guards flinched at his red demon eyes. Why you? Stuttered out the older Anbu, the DDD demon. Both quickly went into a fighting stance. Naruto just smirked and pulled up his left sleeve, revealing the tattoo. The Anbu paused unsure what to make of this, and decided to just wait and see what happened, making the deadliest mistake. Naruto bit his thumb and swiped the bee all the way along his forearm. A dozen hand seals later, he yelled, Yuma Kuchio's no jutsu, and his left hand on the ground. The ground underneath Naruto and the Anbu was scorched black, and in a cloud of black smoke a giant fox with 8 tails appeared. One of its paws instantly killed both Anbu. Naruto-sama, said the fox, you are in need to my help. Yes, Hachibi, replied Naruto. We are going to finish what your brother started. The fox grinned a malicious smile and waved 2 of its tails in a special way. The ground under the main gate welled up and exploded, taking out the entire gate and a portion of wall around it. Hachibi isolated every single chakra signature in the vicinity and focused his eyes on the strongest, which was in the Hokage tower. Hachibi, I'm going to hide myself in your fur for a little while, said Naruto. I need you to lead him away from the village, even if you have to pretend to be losing. Hachibi grumbled, but agreed nevertheless and started to slowly make his way through the village, destroying everything even slightly in his way. Hokage Tower. Hokage-sama, what the hell are we going to against another demon fox? Asked several dozen shinobi that had accolated in the Hokage's office. Tsunade silently walked to the scroll room and brought back the forbidden scroll. We are going to face it head on, she said gravely. Go, gather all the ANBU, Junin and Chunin and hold off the fox until I get there. She ordered. Everyone left to fulfill the order except one. Tsunade-sama, are you really going to use the same jutsu as Yondaime? Asked Shizune in a saddened voice. Maybe I won't have to, but I better learn it anyway, replied Tsunade as she searched for the jutsu within the scroll. This is probably the only way, she thought sadly. Even if history has to repeat itself. Many explosions and screams were heard as the demon fox was slowly being pushed out of the village. Tsunade had taken about an hour to learn the jutsu and another half hour to write her will. Shizune had stayed with her the entire time. Shizune, it's time to go, Tsunade said slowly. Shizune nodded gravely and left to get all her battle gear. As soon as she left, Tsunade fell into her seat. God, please don't let this turn out like it did 26 years ago, the Godime Hokage prayed. Meanwhile on the outskirts of the village, Hachibi was slowly letting the leaf shinobi push him back, just as Naruto had requested. He suddenly felt that powerful chakra from before approaching him. Finally someone stronger than these bugs, he thought. Naruto smirked as he also felt Tsunade approaching. Finally, time to get the show on the road. As soon as Tsunade arrived on the battlefield, she summoned her slug, Katsuyu. A demon fox? Asked Katsuyu. We have to fight him, and if worst comes to worst we'll seal him, answered Tsunade. Trying to be like the Yondaime? Asked Katsuyu jokingly. Hopefully not, replied Tsunade, thinking of how Naruto turned out. A slug, scoffed Hachibi. You're sending a slug after me. He chuckled slightly. Tsunade scowled and Katsuyu became slightly irritated at being underestimated. Zeshi Nensen, she said, sticky mouth acid. A stream of acid shot out of Katsuyu's mouth right at the fox. Hachibi quickly sidestepped it and clawed at the slug, which dodged his attack by moving to the side. During this time, Katsuyu made a smaller replication of itself, which Tsunade threw onto the fox's side. Out of the corner of his eye, Hachibi saw what the slug and its summoner had done and channeled chakra into the fur on its side. Kitsune spiked fur, calmly said the demon fox. The fur on the fox's side stood up in completely rigid and razor-sharp spikes. The thrown replication landed right in the spikes and instantly. Cursed Tsunade. The slug pulled its head back once more and shot out some more fluid, slime covering. This time instead of the fluid being directed at the demon fox, it was shot right below him and spread out along the majority of the forest. Hachibi leapt back a significant distance and watched cautiously as the slime spread out. From the looks of it, this substance must make the ground incredibly slippery. He observed how the slug had no problem moving along its surface, but this is probably a natural thing for slugs, hence it has no problem with it. The demon fox's tail swung around violently and the ground shook, causing Katsuyu and the Konoha army to slow their approach. Suddenly a mist appeared and covered up the fox enough so that Tsunade and Katsuyu could not very well anticipate his next move. Damn it, I forgot that demon foxes have an affinity for Doton and Suten, grumbled Tsunade. Katsuyu, however, did not want to give the demon fox any kind of opportunity and rushed toward him. Once she was within the range of the fog, she was roughly flung to the side by a few of his tails. Noticing that the demon fox had its back to them, the Junin decided that it was the opportune moment to blast it with fireballs. This however completely exposed their position to the demon fox and Naruto. So while Hachibi masterfully dodged the fireballs, Naruto carefully prepared a jutsu. By the time he was done, Katsuyu had joined the ranks of Junin and Chunin that were hurling projectiles at the demon fox. Kinjutsu Kaiten, Lake of Fire, rang out for everyone to hear. With only a slight delay, the ground beneath Katsuyu and several hundred meters around her was set aflame. Dozens of shinobi perished in the initial flames, others jumped up on trees and were incinerated once the flames rose up to their proportional height, proportional to the radius of the lake, but many managed to escape from the flames and run to safety. Katsuyu was having it a lot harder, since she was in the center of the fire. At first she tried to make her way out of the flames, but found that would take too long. So instead she covered herself entirely in non-flammable slime. The only problem was that she had to constantly replace the layers, because the intense heat was melting them off. After about 2 minutes the flames ceased, leaving behind scorched earth in the radius of the lake and small fires, still burning, on the outskirts. Tsunade looked around to assess the damage and didn't like what she saw. Damn it. That K several dozen shinobi and wasted half of Katsuyu's chakra, she frowned. There is no way we can take another hit like that. Suddenly she realized that the voice that had spoken the jutsu wasn't the same as that of the demon fox. She looked up at the demon fox and found a person standing on top of its head. The blonde-haired and black-clothed man stood out against the deep red of the fox. That couldn't be, she mumbled. What? Does the old hag not recognize me in her old age? Asked Naruto. Tsunade scowled. Naruto, she spat out, you've released another demon fox onto the world. You don't have to make it sound so negative, you know, he replied calmly. So you plan to defeat us all with this demon? She asked bitterly. Naruto responded with laughter. Just because you're on home territory doesn't mean you shouldn't be aware of your surroundings. I am quite aware that we managed to push you and this demon far from Konoha, replied Tsunade with confidence. And we can continue pushing you away. As Tsunade said this, Katsuyu rushed at Hachibi. Hachibi stood completely still, and right before Katsuyu made contact with him a giant pillar of flame shot out in between them and went upward sky high. Both parties appeared unscratched by the attack. You missed, taunted Tsunade. Only wasting chakra again, just like when you were a little kid. Naruto chuckled darkly, I told you to be aware of your surroundings, but I guess that at that point it already didn't matter. It suddenly clicked in Shikamaru's head, as he went completely pale. The village, he softly mumbled. What was that, Shikamaru? Asked Sasuke, who was still wondering what the dobe meant by surroundings. Our surroundings, Shikamaru trailed off. The dobe is just being stupid again, we managed to push the demon fox far from the village, said Sasuke arrogantly. Shikamaru suddenly grabbed Sasuke by the collar and pulled his face close. That's just it. Don't you get it? He wanted us to push him away, explained Shikamaru. That last attack wasn't actually an attack. He released Sasuke and teleported next to Tsunade. Hokage-sama, we must retreat back to the village, yelled Shikamaru. What nonsense are you blabbering? The demon is right in front of us, she said coldly. The pillar of flame wasn't an attack, it was a beacon, said Shikamaru desperately. Tsunade whipped her head around to the sound of a distant explosion coming from Konoha. Not surprising that the genius Shikamaru has figured it out, Naruto nodded slowly in appreciation of Shikamaru's abilities. You plan to drive most of the shinobi out of the village by making yourself and the demon fox seem like the biggest threat, reasoned Shikamaru. Naruto motioned him to continue. And now that we are all here, you have signaled your army to attack the village, concluded Shikamaru. Quite so, said Naruto. Though I expected you to see through it. I mean, in a war, why would I simply attack you with just one summoning? But the counter-argument is that the Kage of a village wouldn't want to put himself in such a vulnerable position unless it was absolutely necessary, in which case it would mean that the rest of your troops are out on the borders of the Fire Country, reasoned Shikamaru. But things aren't quite so, now are they? Asked Naruto slyly. Tsunade turned to face her army. Everyone pull back and protect the village, she ordered. A shadow then passed over her and a few seconds later the ground rumbled to her side. The demon fox had leapt over Konoha's army and was now blocking their way back to the village. Did you really think I would let you go? Naruto smirked darkly. Tsunade scowled and mentally cursed. Hachibi, I'm going to need you to occupy these people while I prepare a jutsu, said Naruto. Hachibi nodded in understanding as he saw Naruto close his eyes in concentration and hold his hands in the beginning hand seal. Hachibi jumped at Tsunade and Katsuyu, just as Naruto started off his long sequence of seals. Hachibi poured chakra into his paws, increasing his speed, and attacked Katsuyu from all sides in several seconds. Dodging was out of the question for the slug, as it was definitely not on par with the Hachibi in speed, so it was forced to take all the S to its sides. Katsuyu managed to heal herself, but found she was running very low on chakra. When Hachibi eased off his attacks, Katsuyu tried to use the time given to slow the fox down by spraying the Zeshi Nensen at it, but Hachibi dodged and diverted his attention to attacking other shinobi. Just as Hachibi landed from dodging Katsuyu's Zeshi Nensen, Naruto clapped his hands together and the sky above them darkened. Thick black clouds stretched outwards from right above Naruto, and spread in a spiral motion covering Katsuyu and Hachibi. Not too bad on the timing, if I had waited I would have been rooted to the ground with the sticky stuff, thought Hachibi. Now I just have to keep them away from Naruto without moving. A tendril of chakra went around Naruto while his hands were together and disappeared as he started doing more hand seals. I hope Hachibi can keep everyone away from me. This jutsu requires too much concentration and precision, mused Naruto as he was picking his way through the necessary seals. Sasuke had his Sharingan activated and was looking at Naruto. He's releasing an incredible amount of chakra, he said. Enough for half a dozen Kiryu endens. To spend this much on one jutsu, what kind of monstrosity is he planning? Tsunade has realized quickly enough that Naruto had to be interrupted before he was able to complete the jutsu, but despite her best efforts, Hachibi's defenses were not to be conquered. Between his tails and the constant shielding jutsus that he put around his head or just Naruto, neither she nor her troops were able to even scratch Naruto. The kid better be getting done with his preparations. I can't hold these chakra-burning defenses for much longer. Naruto had suddenly stopped making seals and held the last one for a little while before switching to the ram seal and holding it such that his middle and index fingers were touching the tip of his nose, his eyes still closed in concentration. Naruto snapped open his eyes and locked them on Katsuyu, Kinjutsu Raiten, Lightning Storm no Jutsu. He yelled. A large bolt of lightning came out of the center of the storm clouds above them and hit Katsuyu D on the head. As soon as that first bolt of lightning had come down, Hachibi jumped back, so as to clear the radius of the black clouds. In midair he watched as dozens of lightning bolts, thought each consecutively smaller than each previous one, rained down onto everything within the blast area. The first lightning bolt that had hit Katsuyu split outwards from the slug to hit a dozen surrounding living targets, frying and K them instantly. The same was true if the smaller bolts hit any animate objects on their way down. The smarter shinobi had jumped down to ground level hoping not to be hit by lightning and had, for the most part, been successful in avoiding deaths. Katsuyu had disappeared from chakra exhaustion and being dealt a fatal blow. Tsunade managed to jump down and raise a Doton Kikai to absorb the lighting. Many experienced shinobi used Doton, Shinju Zanshu to hide underground and wait out the attack, among them was Sasuke. Shikamaru was not fast enough in getting off of Katsuyu and was the first to have the lightning jump to and incinerate. When it was all over, the black storm cloud swirled inwards and disappeared. The stench of burned flesh and clothing hung in the air. The survivors were mostly digging themselves out of the ground, only several had gotten lucky enough and managed to not get hit while sitting in the trees. Those were ones that were the most disturbed by what had happened. Not surprising really, watching their friends and comrades get hit while they were being left alive by simple luck, is unnerving for anyone. The Konoha army had been decimated, those who were left were all surrounding blonde-haired Otokage. Hachibi had left, since he was unfortunate enough to be hit with a lightning bolt and not have enough chakra to safeguard himself from very much of the damage. The bolt had of course split and hit Naruto as well, completely destroying his cape and leaving his jacket all tattered. Naruto looked around at all the shinobi that were left and noted that he only recognized Kakashi, Guy, Sasuke and of course Tsunade. The Hokage, however, was well worn from the battle with Hachibi, trying to penetrate his defenses. Kakashi and Sasuke had used about half of their chakra on ninjutsus, so that left Guy as the most dangerous opponent. The others, while Naruto was sure that they could pull their weight, did not seem to concern him. Shall we? Asked Naruto, and disappeared jumping back. Jumping up and twisting his body he said, Konoha Goriki Senpu. Adding a bit of chakra to his counterattack he was able to break the neck of the first attacker and blast back the second attacker. Guy's eyes narrowed. How do you know that move? He asked, bitter that his opponent knew techniques from his style. Itachi was a good teacher. Naruto smirked at the angry scowl on Sasuke's face. I'll throw him off balance with emotions and that'll be one less Junin to deal with. While Naruto was talking he sensed a team of sound Junin closing in on his position. How nice to know that people worry about you, he smiled internally. Just when Kakashi and Guy were going to attack together, Naruto's reinforcements showed up temporarily halting their attack. Naruto recognized his reinforcements to be one of the Sound's advanced Anbu squads and nodded in acknowledgement and growled of presence. Before the invasion all Sound shinobi were briefed on the different bloodlines of Konoha, the Dujutsu bloodlines especially. So the Anbu team that had arrived to help Naruto knew that they would not be able to handle the two Sharingan uses and it was understood that Naruto would be the one to take him on. Thus making the reinforcements' job relatively simple. to keep all the other enemies away from Naruto until he managed to disable and/or K Kakashi and Sasuke. Once again Naruto made the first move by attacking Kakashi. The silver-haired Junin was able to predict Naruto's attack completely with his Sharingan eye and so blocked it and was about to do a counterattack when he suddenly felt a presence behind him. He realized that Naruto had used the Kage Bushin and was now attacking him from the back. How come I wasn't able to see when he used the Kage Bushin? Wondered Kakashi as he jumped out of the way of the attack. The two Narutos were standing in a battle stance facing Kakashi when suddenly one of them looked down and saw a hand grab his ankle and pull him underground. Kakashi instantly figured that if Naruto was allowing himself to be pulled underground then it must be a clone, so he instead attacked the other Naruto. Kakashi reached Naruto at the same time that Naruto's clone had been pulled down to his neck, but even in that second and a half Naruto had not made any attempt to dodge or prepare a block, and by the time Kakashi realized what was going on it was too late. Both Narutos exploded. Kakashi was thrown back quite harshly and into a far tree, while Sasuke was blown out of the ground and shot into midair. It was in midair that Sasuke saw chakra strings wrap themselves around him and tighten before he could respond. Sasuke was then roughly pulled down and thrown into a tree. On impact with the tree, the chakra strings seemed to merge with the tree and turn hard as rock. Needless to say they practically bound Sasuke to the tree. With Sasuke disabled and being watched over by his clone, for the time being, Naruto now had a bit of time to fight with his Genin sensei one-on-one. Not being one to underestimate the copy ninja, Naruto didn't even give Kakashi enough time to straighten out before he delivered a savage kick to Kakashi's stomach, sending him back into the same tree. Kakashi coughed a bit as he angrily looked up at Naruto. "Kakashi, you're slipping," said Naruto in a disappointed tone. "I was expecting a Kawarimi or a Kage Bushin." "Kibakukage Bushin, eh?" asked Kakashi. "It makes clones a bit more useful, especially against high-level opponents," reasoned Naruto as he made vines break out of the tree behind Kakashi and disable the copy ninja. A normal clone after its hit just goes poof, but these explode and punish the opponent for destroying the clone at close range. Kakashi fought against the restraints, but found them to be chakra-infused and he certainly did not have enough strength or chakra to get out of them. Naruto turned around to see that one of his shinobi had been K and the others were getting overpowered. "My guy and Tsunade. Tsunade is being a pain, but I kind of want to talk to her, so I guess Guy will have to D," thought Naruto as he unsheathed his katana. Naruto used the opportunity, when Guy was attacking one of the sound shinobi, to attack Guy from behind. Guy had not expected this, since he had kept track of the other two sound shinobi and knew that they were fighting Tsunade. Who would that be? A clone? Wondered Guy as he blocked the kick to his head, only to catch the small glimmer of a katana. Oh no, I forgot about Naruto. Naruto had attacked Guy from the top and performed a downward kick, so that when he blocked his midsection would be completely open. Naruto was about to perform another vine entrapment jutsu, when suddenly he felt a little lightheaded. "Damn it. Those vines are chakra taxing," cursed Naruto under his breath. "Sir, I trained under Miyasama, I could do a vine jutsu to the Hokage," suggested the sound Anbu by Naruto's side. "However, I don't know any that wouldn't inflict harm on the prisoner." "That is quite all right, I don't care if you have to poison her," said Naruto, and then recalculated their position. "In fact, I leave you two to finish her off. She's low on chakra and as long as you don't get into close range you'll be fine. You're the team's long-range fighter anyway, right?" The Anbu nodded. "Good, so take care of her and I'm gonna have a talk with these two." Naruto walked over to Sasuke. "Well, you're up first," he said. "What do you have to say to me, filthy traitor?" spat out Sasuke. Now Sasuke, don't want to be insulting yourself there," countered Naruto. "I made up for my crimes against the village," responded the Uchiha. No, that pathetic village simply forgave their precious Uchiha. They had no idea, nor did they ever want to find out the truth about how great your brother was and what kind of noble service he did for them. No, those damned idiots always took things at face value, never bothering to dig below the surface, yelled Naruto. "And you're just like the rest of them, even if it's an issue that is so close to heart. What the hell would you know about that bastard? And what about you, Sasuke? You didn't even bother getting to know your brother. It was always about power and recognition for you. You know what? I'll tell you the truth about why Itachi killed your clan, and afterwards you can truly judge if your brother was a good and bad person. Humph, was the sound heard out of Sasuke. You know that the Uchiha clan isn't considered a noble clan, right? Sasuke nodded. You also know that the Uchiha were the police force for Konoha, right? Sasuke nodded again. So, what does this have to do with anything? He yelled. Shut up and listen. Naruto punched the Uchiha in the face. Well, at about the same time that Itachi was born, the elders proposed a plan, which would give them enough leverage to force Konoha to give them the nobility. What the hell do you mean by force? Asked Sasuke. Their plan was to build strong connections with the village council and the majority of the village people, that were mostly based on money and dark favors, that would then allow them to ask for that large favor of being made into nobility. Sasuke raised his eyebrows in amazement and disbelief. By using their law enforcement powers and their honorable reputations, the Uchiha clan set out to corrupt Konoha's powerful and make them help the Uchiha in achieving the desires. Anyone that disagreed with what the Uchiha wanted were arrested and charged with crimes they didn't commit. To make sure that the village council did not find out what they were doing, the Uchiha did secret missions for the council, payment being favors that the council members would owe them. Thus it continued while Itachi was growing up. Surely you remember the night before it all happened, when Itachi was accused of killing his best friend, Shisui? Sasuke nodded dumbly, not knowing what to expect next. Well, with the exception of the elders, your father and Shisui were the ones who wanted this change the most and were willing to go to great lengths to accomplish it. Itachi did not want for this kind of change to occur. He knew what this caused to happen within the Hyuga, and he also knew about the Namusa clan that had wiped themselves out after breaking apart. Itachi wanted the clan to continue living in honor as it had done till then, but knew that he would not be listened to. He knew that he had to find another way to make them change their minds. However, any ideas he may have had were flushed down the drain when he found out the council would give the Uchiha anything they wanted as soon as they did one last mission for them. The assignment was to rid Konoha of a certain demon. Sasuke's eyes widened at this. Yes, Sasuke, the village council hated me, but let's not stray from the story too much. You may not realize or believe, but Itachi was a very loyal and honorable shinobi. He respected the Yondaime and what he had to sacrifice in order to save the village. So the night of the Kyuubi containers, Itachi intercepted the Uchiha and fought him to the death. Thus his best friend, Shisui. That night, the Uchiha had specifically arranged a secret meeting, to prove to anyone in doubt that Uchiha Itachi was a traitor to their cause. Only 2 people were missing from that meeting, Itachi and Shisui, and the latter was supposed to be missing. They knew that Shisui would not commit on the night of such an important mission, and they also knew that Itachi wouldn't just miss a clan meeting, so they automatically knew how Shisui d. Naruto paused to look at Sasuke and judge his reaction. Well, then what about the whole thing of measuring his strength? Asked Sasuke. It was a way to test his honor and loyalty to the village. You know, he left you with the burden of reconstructing the clan. He also took on the image of the corrupted Uchiha and wanted you to hate him because of it, so that the rebuilt clan would never do that kind of thing. He even directed you to the room that had all the information about the whole operation. I was there was nothing there except a scroll about the Mangekyo, said Sasuke angrily. You idiot, of course they wouldn't have the doents lying around in plain view, yelled Naruto. They were concealed by Genjutsu, or did you not bother going there after you acquired the Sharingan? Sasuke narrowed his eyes in anger and shook his head. That's an elaborate story you got there, said the Uchiha coldly. Itachi wanted to tell you after you had gotten stronger, but you seemed too hell-bent on revenge. I needed power for revenge, yelled Sasuke. Haven't you ever heard that true strength comes from protecting your precious people? So what? So, that your brother wanted you to have precious people to protect, Naruto said in exasperation. Then why leave me all alone? He thought it would be better for you. He thought that with him around you would become too dependent. Sasuke smirked darkly. I'd like to believe you, but it's a little too late for that, he said as he broke free of the vines and rushed at a crouching Naruto with his Chidori blazing. Naruto just shook his head. He had loosened the vines around Sasuke while he was telling him the truth. Plus, what's wrong with the Uchiha clan becoming nobility? Asked Sasuke. I deserve it, after all the I've been through. I thought you might say something like that, mumbled Naruto and easily sidestepped Sasuke's Chidori to appear behind him with a fully charged Rasengan. Game over, Sasuke. Naruto plunged his attack straight into Sasuke's back, killing him as soon as his spine was ripped apart. And so the mighty Uchiha clan falls, the Sharingan never to be seen again. Naruto walked over to Kakashi. You could have confirmed the story for him, you know, he told the silver-haired ninja that was still trying hard to break his restraints. I didn't know the truth, responded Kakashi. Sure you did, Obito was Shisui's brother. Surely you must have kept in touch, at least enough to learn how to use the Sharingan. I suspected something wrong, but that's all. I could neither confirm nor contradict your story, Kakashi answered simply. You know, I could let you go, offered Naruto. You'll just have to promise not to mess with the sound. Go to hell, spat out Kakashi. I would die for my village, unlike some. I would die for my village too, but I'm not a Leaf supporter, so I'm terribly sorry if I choose not to die for them, Naruto ended sarcastically. Realizing that Kakashi would not take his offer and would be a bother if left alive. Naruto turned around to see a very worn-out Tsunade, whose genjutsu was even slipping, being overpowered by his soldiers. He sighed, wondering why it all had to end in death. Finish her off and scout out the area for anyone living, ordered Naruto as he jumped off in the direction of Konoha. A slow pace will do me just fine. After all, I did use up a good 80% of my chakra and stamina. I wonder how things are going with Mia's attack. He wondered out loud with a slight hint of worry. Even if I did manage to split the forces in half, there weren't very many Hyuga on my battlefield. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.